How do you experience art today? I mean, really think about it. Are you standing quietly in a gallery, or maybe scrolling really fast through images, videos on your phone, sharing memes that twist classic art? It's changed so much. And almost 100 years ago, this thinker, Walter Benjamin, he kind of saw a lot of this coming. He really helps us get what it all means.
Exactly. And that's what we want to do in this deep dive, really unpack Benjamin's ideas from 1935, his essay, The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction.
Right.
He looked at how technology, especially mechanical reproduction, just fundamentally reshaped art, its meaning, its job, our whole relationship to it, really. And what's amazing is how spot on his ideas still feel for, our digital world.
Okay, let's get into it then. Benjamin starts off saying, look, art has always been reproducible by hand, but mechanical reproduction, that's something totally new. He draws a pretty sharp line there. What's the difference for him? What examples does he use?
Well, he lays out this historical path. For ages, art was copied by hand. Think apprentices, masters making copies, even forgers, right?
Sure.
But that kind of copy, Benjamin says, even a fake one, it respects the original's authority, its unique kind of presence. Mechanical reproduction, though, that's the revolution. He points out, way back, the Greeks had, founding and stamping for bronzes, coins, stuff like that.
Limited stuff.
Very limited. Most art was one of a kind. Then you get the woodcut, which was huge for images like graphic art before printing really took off with text.
Okay.
Then engraving, etching, lithography.
Yeah.
These let art kind of break out, illustrate daily life, keep up with printed books and papers.
Right, getting faster.
Exactly. But the real game changer, Benjamin says, was photography, because it completely bypassed the artist's hand. It was all about the eye and the lens.
Ah, okay.
And it sped up making pictures so much it could almost keep pace with speech. He saw it leading towards sound film, even then. And this connects to something the poet Paul Valéry wrote way back in the 1920s, incredibly insightful. He said, just as water, gas, and electricity are brought into our houses, so we shall be supplied with visual or auditory images, which will appear and disappear at a simple movement of the hand.
That's uncanny. It's like he predicted smartphones, YouTube, just this endless stream we flick through.
It really is.
So if this new tech makes copies so easy, what gets lost from the original artwork? This is where he brings in that key idea, right? The aura.
The aura, yes. And this is central. For Benjamin, the aura is that unique feeling an original artwork has its presence right here, right now, in space and time. Its history, its authenticity.
Its vibe.
Sort of, yeah, but tied to its actual physical existence in history. The big point is this aura, this originality, it's completely outside of technical reproduction.
How so?
Well, think about it. A handmade copy, like a forgery. The original painting still holds all its authority because it is the original. But technical reproduction, different story. You can chemically test a bronze statue to see if it's ancient, right? Or date the parchment of a medieval book. Authenticity is tied to the physical object.
No.
But a photograph. Which print is the authentic one if you can make endless copies from the negative? Authenticity just doesn't apply in the same way. Though, interestingly, he also says technical copies, like photos, can show us things we'd miss with the naked eye, like tiny details.
Oh, right, like zooming in.
Exactly. Or it can take the art out of its original place. You can study a picture of a cathedral in your office or listen to a recording of a choir in your living room. The copy comes to you.
So the reproduction kind of cheapens the original's presence. It's unique here and now. So what does Benjamin say actually withers away? What are the bigger consequences of this shattering of tradition he talks about?
What withers is precisely that aura. The technique pulls the object out of its traditional context. Instead of one unique thing, you get tons of copies.
A flood of images.
Right. And by letting the copy meet you wherever you are on your phone, like you said, it reactivates the art in a new way, but detached from its original power. And these two things together, Benjamin says, cause this tremendous shattering of tradition.
Okay.
And he links this directly to the rise of contemporary mass movements. He sees film as the most powerful agent in all this, actively breaking down the traditional value of the cultural heritage.
So film is key here.
Absolutely. He quotes the filmmaker Abel Gance, who was super enthusiastic back in 1927, saying things like, Shakespeare, Rembrandt, Beethoven will make films. All legends await their exposed resurrection. He saw it as a total rebirth, a new era for everything.
Okay, so technology erodes the aura. Let's pivot slightly. What does this massive change in reproducibility mean for the actual purpose of art? How does Benjamin see art's function changing?
Yeah, this is another huge part of his argument. He talks about two polar types of how art is received. Originally, art had what he calls cult value.
Cult value, meaning like religious?
Often, yes. Tied to ritual, magic, or religion. The main thing was that the artwork existed. It didn't necessarily have to be seen by everyone. Think about, like, cave paintings made for spirits.
Right, hidden away.
Or statues of gods only priests could see, or holy icons kept covered most of the time. Their power was in their existence, their connection to ritual.
Okay, got it.
But then comes mechanical reproduction, and art's fitness for exhibition, as he puts it, increases massively. So much so that this quantitative shift, just having more ways to show it, becomes a qualitative transformation. Art becomes something new with entirely new functions.
And photography and film are the prime examples.
Exactly. Because they are made to be exhibited, to be reproduced, and shown widely, their whole nature is about exhibition, not hidden cult value.
So exposure becomes the main point.
Yeah.
And Benjamin thinks this changes how we even perceive things. How does the rise of the masses fit into this decay of the aura?
It's totally connected. Benjamin argues the masses in modern society have this deep desire to bring things closer, both physically and, like, humanly, to make everything accessible.
Right, like wanting everything on demand.
Kind of, yeah. And also a desire to overcome the uniqueness of every reality by accepting its reproduction. It's like, we prefer the copy sometimes because it's easier to grasp, easier to share. This reflects a growing sense of the universal equality of things. Everything gets leveled out, made reproducible.
And reality adjusts to the masses, and the masses adjust to this new reproducible reality.
Exactly. He sees it as this huge, ongoing process.
Photography shows this really clearly, you said.
Yeah.
How does the portrait fit in? He sees that as the last gasp of cult value. And how does someone like Atget change that?
Yeah, the human face. That's where the cult value makes its last stand in early photography. Those old portraits often have this melancholy, incomparable beauty. The aura comes from remembering loved ones, like a photo you keep.
A personal connection.
Right, but then you get photographers like Eugene Atget around 1900 taking pictures of empty Paris streets. Benjamin says people noted he photographed them like scenes of crime.
For evidence.
Precisely. They weren't about aura or beauty. They were about documenting reality, becoming historical evidence. They demand a different kind of looking analytical, not contemplative. Exhibition value starts to dominate.
And that's where captions come in too.
Yes, that's another key point. Captions become obligatory in magazines and later film. They tell you how to interpret the image, what to see. It's very different from just a painting's title. It directs your understanding.
That is a big difference. Guiding versus just identifying. So all this seems to fundamentally change what art is for. If it's freed from ritual, what's its new purpose according to Benjamin?
For Benjamin, it's a dramatic shift. Mechanical reproduction emancipates the work of art from its parasitical dependence on ritual. Art made for reproduction, like that photo negative where an authentic print is meaningless.
Because you can make infinite copies.
Right. It flips art's function entirely. Instead of being based on ritual, he says, it begins to be based on another practice politics.
Wow, politics. That's a strong claim. Does he mean all art becomes propaganda?
Yeah.
Or something more subtle, like even personal art gets political because it's now part of this mass system?
I think it's more the latter. Once it's detached from ritual and thrown into mass circulation, its reception becomes a collective thing, inherently social, and therefore political in its potential effects. He's not saying you can't have personal feelings about it, but its dominant new function, its basis, shifts to the political sphere.
Okay.
And this change even affects the performers themselves. He makes a really interesting comparison between stage actors and screen actors.
Right, the aura, again, how does it play out for actors? If the camera chops up their performance, does that change what we even look for in acting? Maybe less about pure presence, more about how they look on camera.
You're exactly right. The differences are huge. A stage actor performs live, in person, right there with the audience. That creates the aura, that unique moment.
Yeah, you feel that energy.
But the screen actor, their performance is presented by a camera. And the camera, Benjamin notes, has no respect for the performance as a whole thing. It jumps around, close-ups, different angles.
Takes. Lots of takes.
Exactly. The final film is assembled by an editor from bits and pieces, multiple fragments. It's a series of optical tests, really.
So the actor can't connect with the audience in the same way?
Not at all. They can't adjust to the audience's reaction because the audience isn't there.
Right.
And the audience, they identify with the camera, not the actor. They become like a critic. testing the performance without any personal connection.
That sounds isolating for the actor.
Very. Benjamin quotes Pirandello, the playwright, who described the film actor feeling as if in exile. Exiled not only from the stage, but also from himself. A feeling of inexplicable emptiness. Their body loses its substance, becoming just a flickering image. The screen actor has to act with their whole self, but without their aura.
So the performance itself changes.
Definitely. Film often wants actors to act as little as possible. Sometimes they're treated almost like props, chosen for a specific look or characteristic. He mentions the director Dreyer searching for months for 40 actors for Jeanne d'Arc, treating them like rare stage properties.
Wow. From performer to prop. That's a major shift. And this also changes who gets to be an expert, right? Or even an author. What's Benjamin getting at when he says anyone watching a film or sports is somewhat of an expert?
It's a fascinating idea about accessibility. He points to things like newsreels, where anyone, any passerby, could suddenly become a movie extra. Suddenly, any man today could potentially be filmed. He mentions Soviet films that featured ordinary workers.
Making everyone a potential subject.
Yes. And he compares it to literature. For centuries, you had a few writers and masses of readers, but then the printing press, newspapers, more readers started becoming writers, even just writing letters to the editor.
Right, the lines blur.
Exactly. The difference between author and public becomes more functional, less absolute. The reader is ready to turn into a writer. Benjamin says film achieved this blurring in about a decade, something that took centuries for literature. Because the camera involves everyone, we all become potential critics, participants, maybe even experts in how we view this new reality.
That feels incredibly relevant to today with social media, everyone creating content.
Absolutely.
And Benjamin uses that striking analogy that the painter is a magician, creating this whole complete illusion from a distance. But the cameraman, he's like a surgeon, cutting right into reality, taking fragments.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? The painter-magician keeps a natural distance, offering a total picture. The cameraman-surgeon penetrates deeply into its web, like a surgeon cutting into a body.
Less mystery, more intervention.
Right. The surgeon gets up close, inside. The cameraman gets inside reality with the camera, assembling these fragments later under a new technical logic. It gives this aspect of reality, which is free of all equipment, a raw glimpse, but a fragmented one. It's a much more aggressive way of engaging with the world.
So this deep cutting, this fragmentation, how does that create the specific way the audience receives film? Benjamin called it a shock effect, right?
Yes, the shock effect. Unlike looking at a painting where you can contemplate, let your mind wander.
Take your time.
Exactly. With film, Benjamin says, no sooner has his eye grasped a scene than it has already changed. It cannot be arrested. It just keeps moving, changing perspective. He quotes a critic, Duhamel, who complained, I can no longer think what I want to think. My thoughts have been replaced by moving images.
Like your brain can't keep up?
It's that constant barrage of stimuli. That's the shock effect. And Benjamin says it's cushioned by heightened presence of mind. You're constantly alert, reacting, not sinking into deep thought.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And he saw daddyism, the art movement, as kind of preparing the way for this. How did daddyism attack the aura?
Yeah, he saw daddyism as unintentionally paving the way. The daddyists, he argues, actively tried to destroy the aura in their work. They sacrificed market values for something more radical.
How?
They made poems out of random words, stuck buttons and tickets onto paintings. Things designed to be jarring to prevent contemplation. Their art wasn't meant to be beautiful or admired. It was an instrument of ballistics.
Like a weapon.
Hitting the spectator like a bullet. It had a tactile quality, a physical impact. And Benjamin says this focus on shock and immediate impact promoted a demand for the film because film's distracting element is also primarily tactile, hitting you with rapid changes. Both were about jarring the senses, not soothing contemplation.
So data was like the artistic test run for film's impact. Now, Duhamel, that critic you mentioned, he hated film, called it a pastime for helots, basically slaves needing no concentration.
Yeah.
How does Benjamin respond to that common complaint about distraction? What's his take on the distracted mass absorbing art?
Benjamin knows it's an old complaint, but he flips it. He says distraction isn't necessarily bad, it's just different. Distraction and concentration form polar opposites, he writes. The person concentrating gets absorbed by the artwork.
Like losing yourself in a book.
Right. But the distracted mass absorbs the work of art. It sinks in differently, maybe less consciously, but it's still an active process. He uses architecture as the main example. We experience buildings mostly in a state of distraction, right?
Yeah, you live in them, walk through them.
Exactly. By use and perception, by touch and sight, mostly through habit, not by constantly thinking, oh, what brilliant architecture. Film, he argues, works similarly. It pushes cult value aside, partly because the audience acts like a critic, but also because at the movies, this position requires no attention. We become examiners, but absent-minded ones. We take it in while being distracted.
So it's just a new way of engaging, not necessarily worse. Okay, so bringing it all together, what does this mean for society? Politically, the end of the essay takes a pretty dark turn, connecting this to fascism.
It does. It's a stark warning. He connects the rise of the proletarianized modern individual and the formation of masses, seeing them as linked phenomena. Then he analyzes how fascism tries to manage these masses. It gives them ways to express themselves, rallies, symbols, spectacles.
A sense of belonging.
Right. But crucially, fascism doesn't give them their right to actually change the system, especially property relations. And the way fascism does this, Benjamin argues, is through the introduction of aesthetics into political life, making politics into a kind of spectacle.
And this leads to...
He concludes grimly, all efforts to render politics aesthetic culminate in one thing: war. He even quotes the futurist Marinetti talking about the Ethiopian War, describing war itself as beautiful, the technology, the sounds, the destruction, like fiery orchids of machine guns.
That's chilling, glorifying violence as art.
Exactly. Benjamin sees this aestheticization of politics as inherently destructive. War becomes the ultimate spectacle, a way to mobilize the masses and technology without changing the underlying power structures. He calls war an unnatural utilization of technology because society hasn't figured out how to use it productively for everyone.
So fascism makes politics into aesthetics.
And his final line poses the counter. Communism responds by politicizing art. He's setting up this fundamental opposition in how art and mass media could be used in the modern technological age. One path uses aesthetics to mask political reality, culminating in war. The other uses art to reveal and change political reality.
We've definitely covered a lot. From art's fading aura to how mechanical reproduction changed everything, how art is made, how we experience it, even its connection to politics and society. It's pretty amazing how much Benjamin saw coming, way back in 1935.
It really is incredibly prescient. His analysis pushes us, even now, maybe especially now, to think hard about our own relationship with images, with information in this super saturated digital age. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What really stands out to you when you think about his ideas and the media you consume every single day? How does it all resonate now?